Hello, welcome back to the channel. I'll be going over the books I read in February. I only read 6 books this month. It was a rougher reading month. I got into a bit of a slump because of a book. You will learn about said book. And yeah, let's just jump right into it. So I read He Must Like You by Danielle Young Ullman. And I read this because the Books and Lawless book wordathon. It's positive words for February, so like. I also picked this up because the Books and Lala, it was in a video whenever, and yeah. And this book is about a girl who works at a restaurant, and she's, I think, 17-ish? No, maybe 18-ish. She's about to graduate. And she gets, like, harassed a lot, you know, how young women in the world in general, but especially at restaurants, there's the gross old men that think they own the world or whatever, and own you. And just want to play with you while you serve them. And so she works there, and the book starts off with her dumping a big jar of sangria on a customer that was like touching her, hugging her, gross, like making gross comments to her and about her and stuff. So, and meanwhile, this man's like 40, 50, and she's like 17. Fucking nasty. And yeah, so she dumps the sangria. Then we go back to the reason why she got the job in the first place. It's because her dad is a psycho and he's a loser that doesn't work. Because he keeps on getting fired because he's an idiot, and just like he's known around town for being an asshole and causing scenes and being like, what's the word for the male Karens? I don't know. He's a male Karen. You know the types. And he's horrible. And so every month it's a new scheme to get money or whatever. Meanwhile, the mom works 24/7 to have to support her 2 children. Well, they have 3 children, but the 2 children, the main girl and her dad, because yeah. And so now his next scheme is that he wants to put their house on Airbnb and rent out her and her brother's rooms. So he's kicking her out of their house, and she's like, okay, whatever, I'll go to college. I have my savings, right? No, she does not. She's not have her savings, so she has to figure out where to live, figure out if she's even going to go to college because she doesn't have savings anymore because the dad. And yeah, so she has to get a job. Nowhere in town will hire her because her dad's awful. So she goes towards more like a highway, and they hire her, and she works there, and she gets harassed a lot by customers, well, by one in specific, to where like the server guy that like puts people at table warns each girl when he's here. It's like, oh, you have whatever his name is today. And yeah, and it's just about her dealing with that, she has some other essay stuff that has happened to her in the past, and just her working through all of that and going through all of that. And I enjoyed it. It was a little like heavy-handed, very like introduction into like sexual assault and all that sort of stuff, and like this is like a lot more of the gray area stuff. It's not really gray area, but it's like the stuff that's not like super violent, or like, you know, when you think of like grape, you know. And this is more of like the gray area, like stuff that's more like harassment and like some other situations where like the boys weren't necessarily trying to do that to her, but that's what happened. And it's just her working through that, dealing with it, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was a solid read. I think I gave it like a 3.5, but it was a little heavy-handed, a little like, you know how like people have like problems with the Barbie movie because it's like, oh, it's like an introduction into feminism, and that's very much what this felt like too. It was an introduction into it, and more like it felt more like to educate people on it, which I think the people that need to be educated about it aren't going to be reading this book. This is a book that people who are already educated are going to read. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I enjoyed it. I had a hard time connecting or differentiating the characters because like the characters with like a loud and strong voice are like the dad and her mom. And like her and her friends, I had a hard time like telling each one apart. It was very like they were very like, I don't know, they just didn't have a strong personality at all. Like I could not, like, here, let me hear. Which one was it? I don't remember. It's like there's the host guy and the guy she has a crush on, And I just kept on mixing the two up every time. I would have to go and check, and I'm like, which one is that? It's like Kyle and Chris or some shit. It's like two white boys, and they're boring and white, and they just had no personality. And also, that's also another aspect of this book that I fucking hated, was that this guy she has a crush on. I thought that whole storyline in the book was not needed, and just they didn't have chemistry. They didn't have anything. It was bad. It shouldn't have been in the book. It just like I hated those scenes. It was so bad, and it was like very much like, oh, quirky girl, I don't know how to talk to boys, and it's just it wasn't good. It's like, this is not what this is about. Like, I get it. She needs, like, I think he serves a purpose in the story or whatever, but it's just, I just did not like their conversations at all. I did not, him as the character was nothing. Literally, like, just, like, nothing. And here, let's see what I wrote. A passable book about the gray areas of SA. And none of the characters were well defined except for Libby's mom and dad. Ooh, I already said that. Love the topics it brings up. Hated Noah and Libby combos. I guess that's the dude she has a crush on. His name's not Chris, it's like Libby. Or it's Noah. The topics and themes were shoved down your throat a bit. Like, it wasn't like, because like there's like some stuff's happened to her, and then she walks into school, and then there's like a sexual like harassment and assault course with like a therapist there to like teach all the kids, and it was just like very kind of convenient and weird that I was even there. I don't know, for my experience at schools, they don't care about you. They don't care. Especially public schools. Like, that would not have happened. Like, I'm sorry. I mean, my counselor, like, when I was going through my depressive episode, I was in school half of the time, out of school most of the time, because I couldn't get myself out of bed. And I didn't meet, like, that was how it was throughout the whole semester. And I didn't meet my school counselor until the last day of school. Where she's like, oh yeah, lots of kids just go through it, so yeah, just like, you know, it's fine, whatever, bye. I was like, so yeah, it's like they don't care about you. That wouldn't happen. I find it extremely hard to believe that they would hire anyone to have an assembly like that. Like, they just don't care. Like, I'm sorry, that's just my sort of opinions. After school special vibes for sure. And who was Libby? Because it's just like, that's another problem is, like, especially with like, you are so much more than whatever assault happened to you, whatever SA thing happened to you. You're so much more than that. And for Libby was only the stuff that happened to her, whether it be the SA stuff, whether it be the stuff her dad's doing, like kicking her out and stuff. It was only her reacting to stuff other people were doing to her. She didn't have like a strong character, which is pretty disappointing. But yeah, I give it like a 3.5. I liked it. I thought it was a quick read. I think it's definitely worth a read. I think it was solid. And I don't know, I just started doing this thing where I put a song that kind of encapsulates that book. And so for this one, I put That Bitch by B. Miller. Because that song is like a very feminist song. And like the line specifically is, society is sucking on your dick. And since I got a pussy, I'm a bitch. And since you are a dude, yeah, you can tell the truth. But as soon as I do, I'm a bitch. And that's just like very much felt like Libby, you know, from what I know of her, you know. Okay, the next book I read was The Last Girls Standing by Jennifer Dugan. And that book, The Last Girl Standings, is about these two girls who survived a summer camp slasher, and now they're just trying to reacclimate to the world, and now they're kind of like trauma bonded. So the one girl moves across country to live with the other girl because they're girlfriends too, and they just want to spend time together and stuff, and they're trying to reacclimate into the world and try to like fill in the pieces, because the main girl, she doesn't remember anything about the tech. Like, she blacked it all out, and it's just about her journey trying to reacclimate and then slowly getting the pieces back in her head of what happened to her and what like what happened that night. And she starts to suspect everyone and gets very suspicious, and like suspects her partner, the girl that was also there, as maybe having something to do with it. And this one was tricky, because I was like kind of okay with the story. I was kind of in on it, but it's just some of the decisions made weren't great. Here, let me just read what I wrote down, because I don't even fucking remember. very, very cabin at the end of the world coded. A intriguing enough story about surviving a camp massacre such ritual, because it's like a ritualistic killing. And I said, not enough of the camp. I was expecting more camp. It's like a couple scenes at the camp, that's it. Connor, there's a character in this that just, he's like Libby's friend from before the camp massacre. And then like when she comes back, she's having a hard time and she only wants to talk to Cherry, who's the girl that was there with her. And Connor is like, hey, please talk to me, I want to help, like whatever you need, I'm there for you. And then that kind of happens for a little bit, and then something happens and he just falls out the face of the earth, and we never circle back to that character. I guess he just ghosts her and just stops talking to her altogether, which was just kind of shitty and weird, and from what we learned about the character, didn't seem like fitting. Intriguing plot. Love dysfunctional lesies. Yeah, because the two main girls there, it was a toxic relationship. Yeah, they were definitely bonded from trauma and not from love, I don't think. Yeah, characters were fine. Cherry and Sloane, they were fine, whatever. I thought the mystery surrounding like what happened to them at the camp was kind of intriguing and stuff. And I like wanted to know more. And yeah, I think I gave that one a 3 out of 5. I thought it was a fine time. I thought the story was intriguing. I don't think it was very well plotted or very well thought out, because like there was just a lot of stuff that just like a lot of dead ends, or not like dead ends, kind of like plot holes, like Connor and stuff like that just didn't fully like I needed it all to come together, you know, at the end, and it just doesn't at all. It's very like janky and doesn't fit together well, which I think might have been the point, but I don't know, it didn't work super well for me. And the song I picked for it was No Return by Craig Wheatron and Anna Warnocker, which that's the theme song for Yellow Jackets. The no return, no return, no return. That song. And it's really good. I like that song a lot. The next book I read is This Is Why They Hate Us by Aaron H. Aceves. And I said a really moving story about a bi teen struggling with his mental health, sexuality, and crush. And yeah, it's like about this kid Enrique, who is bi, and he has a crush on this boy, Salim, who is, well, we don't, it's not like, he doesn't know if Salim's straight or not, or whatever, and Salim doesn't know he's bi, but like he's like head over heels for Salim and really wants something to happen, but he's like afraid of saying something because he doesn't want to lose his best friend, blah blah blah. And it's just, and then it's kind of about like his other friend Fabiola Ola. It's like, okay, you need to go sleep with some other guys to get your mind off of Salim. So it's kind of about his journey trying to get with these 3 other guys and the trials and tribulations that come with that. And then we delve into like a bit of his mental state and his mental health journey. And yeah, I thought it was solid. I thought it was a little too long, like, and a little problematic, some of the stuff that happens in there, which I saw the reviews. Some people fucking hate this book because there's just some decisions that Enrique makes that are problematic. But I mean, it's like a 16, 17-year-old boy. You know what I mean? Given a little bit of Aria, if you know what I mean. And yeah, I don't know. I thought it was solid. I thought it was fun. Gay story. I love that Salim was from Palestine, and we got some Palestine representation, and this came out in like 2022. Yeah, it didn't start in 2023. Got some Palestinian rep from Salim, and it's not like super in detail. It's like a chapter or 2 about that and about Salim's experiences, which I really liked and appreciated. And my main takeaways were love Enrique, Fab, Salim, Mammy, and Mr. C. Love the bi rep. A little long. Sexy AF. Cringe. There's, yeah, that's another thing. It's like, when, like, these, like, it's very sexual for them being in, like, high school. So in my head, I kind of, like, aged them up to, like, college age, but they're supposed to be in high school, which, you know, got a Pretty Little Liars there. There's just, yeah, it's kind of weird, some of the stuff, but I mean, it's like, high schoolers do that stuff. That's just, is what happens. I said IDK about the ending and love the Palestine rap. And then the song I picked was All My Love by Noah Kahan. Which that song is like, there's like a specific line, it's like, there's no bad blood here, you got all my love. And I kind of like felt that way with Enrique and Salim's relationship, that regardless of if Salim likes Enrique back, Salim's always gonna have all of Enrique's love. Like, Enrique just loves him, you know what I mean? And it's like, all my love, you got all my love. I gave that one like a 4 out of 10. I thought, or 4 out of 5. I liked it. I thought it was solid, and yeah, I'd recommend it. This next one is Such Dark Things by Courtney Evan Tate. And this one is, this one my mother got me when I was around like 18, I think. Because it's very misleading from the back. It's like, says, Dr. Corinne is living the American dream. She's a successful ER physician in Chicago who's married to a handsome husband. Together they live in a charming house in the suburbs, but appearances can be deceiving, and what no one can see is Corinne's dark past. Troubling gaps in her memory means she recalls little about the haunting event in her life that changed years ago, that changed everything. She remembers only being in the house the night that 2 people were found murdered. Her father was there too. Now her father is in prison. She hasn't been in contact in years. Repressing that terrifying memory has caused Corinne moments of paranoia and panic. Sometimes she thinks she sees things that aren't there, hear words that haven't even been spoken, or have they. She fears she may be losing her mind, unable to determine what's real and what's not. So when she senses her husband's growing distance, she thinks she's imagining things. She writes off her suspicions, off to fatigue, overwork, and anything to explain what she cannot accept, that her life really isn't what it seems. So that's what I was going into, and that's what my mom thought it was about Corinne and her journey, figuring out what happened to her past, and is her husband growing distant, or is it her paranoia, blah, blah, blah. And this book is split up into two perspectives. Corinne and Jude, her husband, and I thought this was a mystery thriller. It is an erotic, dark thriller. Erotic. Which was not my cup of tea. It was, yeah, not great. Here, I said, marketed as a woman's struggle with her past, which it is, kinda, but half of it about her husband cheating. Fuck Jude. So yeah, it's split up into Corinne literally struggling, like fucking fighting for her life, and Jude is like, ugh, my wife works too much, you know, she's in the ER literally saving lives. Why can't she come home and be with me? I'm lonely. Where's my wife? Oh, your wife is literally saving people's lives. It's like, what? She can't just call out. Like, if she calls out, like, because they're low-staffed at the hospital right now. And also, it's the anniversary of what happened to her years ago. Like, however long ago. And, like, she can't just call out. And, like, she's just struggling mentally because it's the anniversary of that horrific incident. And it's like, this dude has no fucking sympathy for his wife at all. He's trash. Horrible. Hate him. I said, I hate red-blooded males, aka Jude, because he says that a lot. He's like, oh, I'm a red-blooded male. What, am I not supposed to look at this girl? And, oh, I'm a red-blooded man. Any red-blooded man would do. It's just like, his justification for cheating on his wife is disgusting. Disgusting. And I hated being in his head and in his perspective. It was horrible. I hated it so much. So much. Hated being in the POV of a cheater. Liked Corinne, but hated sharing with Jude. Predictable AF. It's like the thriller stuff that comes in. Like, I predicted everything that was going to happen. Like, it's not like a bad twist or anything, but it's like, it was obvious to me. Corinne's story should have been the whole book. We did not need Jude and his tirades. I think it would have been more effective if Jude wasn't a cheater, and we didn't actually see his point of view. I think if we just saw and were in Corinne's mind of her dealing with everything that's happened to her, I think that would have been more effective. Hated the ending. Horrible, horrible ending. I think I gave this book 1 out of 5. I think I would have given it like 2 if the ending was different. Guessed all the twists, and the song I picked was Tabs, in parentheses, I Hope You Get the Plague, by the Small Calamities and Charlie Robert Wolf, which this song goes, I hope you get the plague, but you survive. I hope you suffer, but I don't want you to die. And that's how I feel towards Jude. I need him to suffer. I need him to get the plague, but he can survive. He doesn't have to die, but I need him to suffer for his actions, and yeah. I need him to suffer. I need Courtney Evan Tate to suffer for mismarketing her novel as like a mystery thriller when it's really a dark erotic fiction. Like, it was just not for me. No. I did not like being in the head of a cheater. I thought Current Story was good or whatever, but yeah. 1 out of 10. Worst book of the year so far. Don't know how anything's gonna top it. The next book I read is Everyone's an Alien When You're an Alien Too, by Jomny Sun. And this book is, it's kind of like a graphic novel more. Here. There's like art and stuff, and it's just about this little alien guy who has come to Earth to learn about the humans, and stuff, and just his journey into learning about humans and himself and whatever. And yeah, it was cute. It was fine. I mean, there's not a whole lot to it. Like, for me personally, I didn't take a whole lot away. It's just, you know, him learning life lessons about human nature and blah blah blah, whatever. I gave it like 4 out of 5. I thought it was solid. I said, cute story about an alien learning about humans. Cute art, hopeful, poetic, and sweet. And the song, because I didn't know what song to pick, I put Genesis by Grimes. The I will never dream, you'll never do, I'll never do. I ain't done, only on me. And yeah. And the last book I read is for Kayla's book club. The Literally Dead book club, and it was Out There Screaming, and this is what put me in my reading slump, because I started off the month after He Must Like You. I tried to read this book, and I gave this a 3 out of 10 out of the average rating of my books, out of like the whatever, the average rating of the stories. And the first half of this book was fucking rough. Here, like, Reckless Eyeball, the first short story, I gave it 1. There is an essay scene in this that really disturbed me, and it kind of made it really hard for me to want to like pick it up and keep on reading. And yeah, the first half of this book, the first couple stories were so bad, and like I was reading this and I was like, where's the horror? And I was like, maybe it's just me. Like, it's like a lot about like the horror of being Black in America, which like obviously, but like I wanted more like it's edited by Jordan Peele. I was expecting like Get Out, you know, like that's about the horror of being Black in America, but also so much more than that. It's actual like horror movie, not just like a commentary on America. And a lot of these were like sci-fi and like fantasy, not horrific. Not a whole lot of the stories were super horrific. It was more just like a lot of like Jim Crow era. And so I watched her live show yesterday, and it was so funny. I was like, thank God I'm not crazy, because she was like, these weren't horror, these were like speculative. And I was like, thank God. I was feeling fucking insane, because the first reviews were all like 5. And I was like, I'm not scared. Where's the horror? I don't feel it. It's not scary. Like, it's not. But yeah, so the first half was fucking rough. Like, it was rough. I had a very hard time sitting through it. I ended up buying the audiobook because I just couldn't get myself to pick up and read this book. So I bought this fucking hardcover and the audiobook, which whatever. And I gave it was a 3.4 like out of 5. Like, that was the average rating or whatever. But some of the stories towards the end were really good. Here's my like the favorite standouts was The Writer, Pressure, Flicker, The Norwood Trouble, A Bird Sings in an Etching Tree, Your Happy Place, Hide and Seek, and Origin Story. Those were all my 4 and 5 stars, but like stories. And yeah, I said a solid collection with a rough beginning, and hell yeah, it was such a rough beginning. I had such a hard time getting into it. It was rough. And yeah, so for February, I picked a book out of my jar. This is all of the books on my TBR. I wrote down and put in here, so every month I'm gonna read a random one. And this is why they hate us, is what got picked for February. So I wanted to pick it here. Let's see which one I get. I Found Puppets Living in My Apartment. So I'm going to be reading that for, ow, fuck, my foot's falling asleep, for March. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. See you next time.